You're watching CCN, Clarksville Community Network, produced by Goodwin Productions. Powered by CDE Lightband.
Welcome to Inside Second and Commerce, and today I'm here talking with some people who are featured in the next edition of Second and Commerce magazine. That'll be our July edition that comes out all across Clarksville and Montgomery County. And I'm here speaking with the director of the Clarksville-Montgomery County African American Legacy Trail, Terry Morris, and the president of Mount Olive Cemetery Historical Preservation Society, Nick Nicholson. Thank you both for being here today. And we're going to talk about your second edition brochure that you just released for the Clarksville-Montgomery County African American Legacy Trail. And you just released this in June, right?
We did 2 weeks ago at the Montgomery County Library.
Yes.
We had a great audience. Nick, the mayors were there, and the greatest thing about it is it let the community know that our work is carrying on, and they're getting bigger, beautiful, more bolder, and also to introduce the AR AI project that we did. So I thought it was a big hit.
Right, so we had a big launch at the library, and the brochure has been expanded from basically a one-page brochure, right, that you had before that opened up into a mount, to a 23-page brochure here that includes a gallery in the back. And then you also mentioned the AR experience, and on the back there is a QR code that has that you can use your phone to scan and then go ahead with the AR experience. Can you tell us a little bit about the AR experience?
Well, yeah, I can briefly, and I'll let Terry do the technical part of it.
Okay.
But when we launched the idea for the AR AI, it was kind of daunting because most of us, our directors, are older, so you had to even before you got into the concept, you had to explain what the heck it was.
Right, because they didn't know.
They didn't know, and keep reminding them. So when there's a vision like that, I think it's daunting for people to get in front of it or to accept it as something that's really viable to do. But we just kept hammering, we kept talking, and most of the people got on board. But it's exciting. It's something that I don't think any organization is doing here in Clarksville, Montgomery County. So I was definitely about it, and we just had to keep hammering it till everybody understood what was going on.
Right.
To piggyback on that, I think I've looked, and there's nowhere in the region that anyone's doing anything like this. Matter of fact, I found it hard pressed to put my finger on any AI, AR legacy trail of African American heritage. So we're really proud of that. Nick, it was quite a task to even teach myself or learn the concept myself, even at a little younger age, because I'm not a big techie, but explain, show, explain again, show, go back and tell the rest of the people, explain, show. So that process went on and on. But I think now that it's out and launched and you can actually see that product, it's very simple. You know, there's the three or four components, and you download the app and it shows right there wherever you're at. So but that's quite funny. You could say that on the back end of a high-end IT project. Oh, that looks easy. It's not easy.
Right. So AR stands for augmented reality.
Yes.
And so a person will scan the QR code and then go through the process that it instructs you to do. And then what will they see?
So right now they will see, if you scan the QR code, it'll take you to a 1, 2, 3 step process to download the Hoverlay app. Once it pops up, I believe it begins with the intro about the African American Legacy Trail, which Nick here is narrating, and gives an overview of what we're doing. Secondly, you'll see each spot with 3 or 4 components. The first component being the background music, which is from Clarence Cameron White. The audio, the narration, which is from Nick Nicholson and Kimberly Wiggins, our county trustee. And then also the video aspect of it. That is Demetrius Hanarakis filming each spot and editing it to look good. And then ultimately Dr. Paul McNeil from MB Usable Security took all of that, put it together, built it on a platform that you can then display an AR, AI of your choosing. I've seen a lot in real estate now. People can view houses in AR if you want to buy a house, so I thought that was cool. But that whole process was a wonderful learning experience, I think, for everybody across the table. And ultimately what it did was take Mount Olive Historic Preservation Society's mission to a whole new level. So we're definitely proud of it.
So you were a narrator for the augmented reality version. So can you talk a little bit about what you did for that?
Yes, I've never done anything like that before. I mean, I've spoken and all of that, but not recorded, and just, you know, trying to prepare for it. He said, "Hey, if you mess up, we can do it again. We can do it again." And then we did it again and again sometimes.
Right.
But no, it was a great experience. And then to match the voice up, your voice, my voice, Kimberly's voice up with one of the sites and hear that and see that was just, it all came together. And it made you proud to be a part of it. It made me proud to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was a great experience.
Right.
A Montgomery County library employee
Yes.
who, when I approached him with, because he did some audio recording with different things, and I know the library really wants to bring in an oral history sound booth at some point, so I knew he was working and toying around with audio and recording and stuff. So I asked him, could you record audio for this? And he said, I can build a studio and in the closet. And I was like, you absolutely can. So David Brockman pulled it all together. He did a phenomenal job with the audio portion and keeping these two in the loop and on track and sort of trying to hit deadlines as we were approaching Juneteenth.
So this is a downtown walking trail and county drive that goes across Montgomery County and features locations and identifies people too who have made a difference in leadership, creativity, community, and all different areas. And so you mentioned Clarence Cameron White, who was a musician, and so whose Tennessee State Historical Marker is here downtown, right in front of F&M Bank Arena. If you want to go down, if people want to go down and read that, they can and check it out. But in this, so you had some that you read for the augmented reality, and Kimberly had some that she read for the augmented reality. In total, including the ones that Kimberly read, is there a place that you feel more connected with, or that you resonated with you more on here, or a person?
I'd have to really think about it. I think for me it was a real learning experience when you read it. You know, you're like, oh my God, you know, Cameron, you know, and so it was a real learning experience for me. That I don't know if I could pick out a favorite. I'd have to go back through them.
Yes,
you know, because
it's
Kimberly
tough.
had some and then I had some, but I can't say that
That's
I have
tough.
a favorite right now.
It is really hard to put your finger on one because of such
There's
a
so
rich
much
history and legacy behind every story we've uncovered or gotten taught and told in the brochure. And as you visit through a process like filming and audio and recording and this and that, you have an affinity for each one, so it's really hard.
It is.
Yes,
I agree
because
with that
there's something
wholeheartedly.
that you've learned and that you feel connected to from each person who is in here, because there's sculptors, there's musicians, there's athletes, there's politicians, right? So many different people, such a range, painters. So this was designed though by some students, right? You want to talk to us a little bit about the Rossview High School?
One of the best aspects of this whole project, and I get all giddy about it because AMAT Academy at Rossview High School. So they do all these digital ad campaigns for the city and different things. They have done work for entrepreneurs. So we approached them long ago in 2019 with the first edition.
Right.
And then let's fast forward to, you got 4 seniors working on this project right now, and they're about to graduate. They're in the finishing layout moments about 2 months ago, and I was like, hey, Miss Hannah Brooks, wonderful leadership
Yes.
at the AMAT Academy. I said, Miss Hannah, we may have to outsource this and just get it out. You know, we're pushing the deadline. Absolutely not. Crunch time. And she said, I look forward to the 3rd edition. So I think it will always be with the AMAT kids. They bring such skill and such eagerness to doing something like this that I don't think you can get the same type of product from, say, ABC Company. So
And they were invested.
they were invested, and they all took ownership in their parts, and you can see that in the final product. It's beautiful.
Well, and I think there's something to having the work of students out in the public where they can see their work in people's hands in the community, and they can see that their work matters in the community. That's got to be a big deal.
And I know, and I think we all are familiar with, you know, when you've got something that you want to present to the community or a person or a company or ask for a sponsorship, which are available for these AR trails, you have a 1 minute, you have a 30-second elevator pitch. And so you pick the 4 or 5 bullet points that are the most beautiful, most important points, and I always lead with those students because I want people to know that we are totally vested and dug into the community, and not just 1 or 2 aspects of it, but the school system, other organizations, partnerships we have, and then further on down the line. So it's a web of connectivity, right?
Right. Yes, and in fact, on the masthead, there's a long list of people in the community who helped with this project. So definitely check it out and see all the different people. I want to get to Mount Olive Cemetery Historical Preservation Society and talk about the society and what its mission is and why the society took on a project like the Clarksville Montgomery County African American Legacy Trail, because it didn't start with Mount Olive. Mount Olive Cemetery started first and was founded years before the Legacy Trail.
Thanks for asking about that.
Yeah.
Because one of the, I guess she's a charter member, one of the treasurer, she reminded me on Saturday that this is the 20th year of Mount Olive Cemetery Historical Preservation Society. So
happy birthday.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so we're going to, you know, really come up with some things to honor Miss Geneva Bell and the legacy of the society, how far it's come from the beginning. But you ask about the mission. The mission really is just to educate individuals about the legacy of those who are interred in Mount Olive, the community, the city. And Phyllis, our historian, does a biography of those that she's found in there. You know, we have over 1,350 estimated interred there. I think we have about 300 or so civilians that have been identified through the records that she's researched, 35 veterans. And so with that history, there's a lot to be told. There's a lot to learn from health disparities to just the struggles that African Americans dealt with through that whole period of 1817 to 1958, which is the burial period of the cemetery.
Yes.
So that in itself is a daunting kind of thing that has happened and has been occurring for 20 years. Now, when Terry came to me and asked me about the Legacy Trail, it seemed like a seminal relationship because of what the Legacy Trail represented and what our mission was. So it wasn't a real leap to say, let's figure this out, you know, because you were looking for a home. And I don't know how you found out about us, but when you presented at the board meeting, you know, it wasn't a big leap to say, Shana found it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So it wasn't a big leap.
Shana has a lot of friends in a lot of different places.
Yes.
And I think her and Phyllis have been friends for a long time.
Okay.
And so she knew kind of where to go.
I
and
forget. The
ask.
recommendation came from
Yeah.
different people in the community, probably Ellen Canervo, Phyllis.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we had mentioned, there was a couple of mentions of different types of organizations and things, but nothing seemed to be, like you said, so connected as Mount Olive. And for us on this side was like, they're going to say yes. How could they say no?
So that's how, you know, we voted on it as a board. We kind of talked about how it was going to, how we were going to mesh the two missions or thought processes or organizations together, and I think we've done it successfully. And this launch here is, I guess, a testament of that relationship and how connected we are and how successful this has been for both the society and the trail.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Mount Olive does a lot. You not only take care of the cemetery, and you
Yes.
also have a historian who does research and
Yes.
publishes those biographies on your website every month, and also reads them at the meetings. But then you also erected a USCT colored troop statue at Fort Defiance.
Yeah, that was interesting because that has always been that's always been a vision of Phyllis, our historian, and you know that the cost was what, over $200,000. So you know, when I became president, I think we operate on a budget of about 10 grand a year. So that was just like, how do you do that?
Yeah, that's
And Phyllis kept soliciting the board.
Yeah.
She did not forget that, and we just kind of figured out a way that we could do that, and it came together. You
Right,
know,
and
I think
it's life size?
Yes, it is life size. I think it stands probably about 11 or 12 feet with the base.
Right, with the base.
Yeah, with the base. Yeah,
Yes.
but it is. It was a daunting task, but after we unveiled it, we had that unveiling with the two mayors there,
Yes.
and that was a big crowd there.
Yes.
Everybody really appreciated
Standing
it.
park only.
Yes, standing park only, and it was great because we had the kids. You know, you go back to the kids that you were talking about in high school, and that was a vision that we had, is to have the kids unveil it, help us do the unveiling, and that was super.
Yeah.
So I think that touched everyone.
For sure.
Yeah.
Anytime I think you can involve the community and children, families in the process,
Yeah.
it makes everybody feel like they get to do something, you know, and
Exactly.
contribute in some way. And you know, those kids are going to remember that. At least some of them will.
Yeah, I think
you know,
you're
and
right.
that, who knows how that informs them, you know, later in their lives. So
It's all about education, and we try to plant seeds.
Yeah,
you know?
well, if you talk about that, you're talking about, you know, it was kind of crazy with trying to figure out where the USCT statue was going to be placed.
Right.
And we had at least 5 different sites that we considered with criteria for each site, whether it was visitation, whether it was, you know, different things. And Fort Defiance just came out on top as the site that it needed to be.
sure.
You know?
Oh, and it makes so much sense
Yeah.
for it to be there.
Yes, and then so coordination with Jennifer Letourneau,
Right.
the parks director.
Right.
That was something that we, you know, all of the aspects of doing this was really a learning process, but rewarding, and it's the partnerships that we created along the way.
Right.
Yeah.
To give you all just a little bit of backstory about the Clarksville Montgomery County African American Legacy Trail, I founded the trail in 2019. I had reached out in 2017, 2018 to a friend of mine and my husband, Terry Morris is my husband, and some other friends who are spread out in the local community, and asked them with different expertise, and asked them if they would help me in creating this and in releasing it and putting it all across the county, really. I wanted it to be in the Customs House Museum and available for people to pick up, in the public library, in the schools, any of them that would carry them. And our eventual goal was to get them into the visitors centers and welcome centers that are all across the state of Tennessee. And so that was a big goal. I really didn't know if we would be able to accomplish that. And so we started out with the small ones. And in fact, the first wave of students from Rossview High School were like, we don't really think that you're going to be able to get this anywhere. And so you don't have anyone really sponsoring it. You're just asking all these volunteers to come together across the community and do this thing. And we just do not think it will actually happen. And what can you do to show us that it will? And I said, I don't have anything but my word. And but I follow through and I make good on my word always. And so a few of them actually fell off of that design and did not stick with us.
Sure.
That, that's just the way things go. But then we got Catherine Boyer, who you know and who you know. Yeah. And Catherine was amazing for that first edition brochure. And then she's gone on and had a wonderful career at Austin Peay State University and gone on and had a wonderful career since all of this. But I feel like, it went through these kind of like growing pains, initially. And how do I get people to know what we're doing and then believe in it and believe that we're going to deliver? And part of that was partnering with Mount Olive Cemetery, because then once we had the organization behind us, supporting us, that was like, oh, for sure, then it's going to happen.
We were told, we want to, but we want you to go do this. And then, so after so many times of hearing that, it's like, okay, we've got to find a home.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we were promoting the idea or launching the idea of the ARAI project. How many people could really get their heads wrapped around it? Some people did not think that it would be viable to do.
Sure.
From a financial, from a ownership point of view, all of the aspects of it, we had doubt in the organization. Did we not?
We did.
Okay.
Yes.
And so when you were talking about that, it reminds me of how we had to wrap our hands around it and sell it to our own members.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So you did the same with the trail.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I just think it's amazing to see how far it's come. And then in that demo that you all did at the library, you demoed the AR version. All the kids were just so glued to it and very excited and already on their phones, like, how do we do this? How can we find it? And so
Dr. Paul McNeil's vision was simply a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old going, hey, Grandma, hey, Papa, hey, friends, hey, check this out. So we saw that real time. It was awesome.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Paul is that he came here during COVID, right? He talked about this at the library. He moved here during COVID, and he was looking around at something in Clarksville, Montgomery County that he could really sink his teeth into, that he could practice this and also offer his services at the same time.
Sure.
And so he reached out, he contacted you, right?
He sat on it for a year. He said, I watched it and just, for a year. And then finally he called me one day, he tracked me down.
Right.
So.
And so to see his vision then come to fruition, that's such a tongue twister, but for him was just so neat at the library, because you could see how meaningful it was to him, what he said about how it's made him feel like part of the community, how it's helped him to meet more people and also learn about Clarksville, Montgomery County.
He's amazing.
Yeah, and to add to that story, picture this. He is in between Atlanta and Clarksville. He's helping taking care of his family here and his other family in Atlanta. So he says, hey Terry, the launch is at 5, right? And I said, yeah, you good? He said, well, I'm just now leaving Atlanta, and it was like 2 or something like that, So long story short, at 5:30 in the program, it was his time to come up and demo. I did not see him at that time, so I just took the ball. And then when I announced, well, I don't think Dr. Paul McNeil has made it off the road yet, maybe he'll come in, and you just see him in the back of the room going, I'm here. So he slides up at the very moment to demo what he's worked so hard on. So I think back to, and tie that thread, it's perseverance. I have worked on this, I've wanted to envision this, I've wanted to see this happen, and he literally, woo, and it was like, look what I did.
Well, I think what was so neat about him doing that is he was watching you like someone who didn't start the program, didn't do the program, like anybody else who's coming to it not knowing what to do, right? You're saying, I'm not sure if this is working out, and he's letting you go through that process, which made the whole audience feel comfortable with going through a process that they're very unfamiliar with.
We had plugged my phone up to a projector and a big screen,
right,
so that the audience can see the AR. And of course, you all know, and I know, anytime you're messing with electronics and this and that, it worked fine 5 minutes ago, but when you're on the spot, and it did work just fine, the audio, the video, everything.
It was great.
And quite frankly, for 7 minutes there, we had people on the edge of their seats. It was great.
Yeah, we didn't run it for that long because there was a whole mix and mingle part of that.
We wanted to show the public, but not all. We want them to leave going, I didn't get to see it all. No, great, go and watch the rest of it. So.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think Paul, I mean, when you introduced him to the society, and it's like, this is Dr. Paul McNeil, and he, from GED to PhD, and he loves coding. And I just thought how wonderful it would be for young kids to see him as an example.
Absolutely.
He's not a high school graduate, but when he felt like he wanted to do all of this, he went and got his GED.
Right.
That spawned him. So for African American kids to see someone like him
and
partner with us to do the project that we did, I think that brings it all together for me, and that's why I was so into it.
And he
because
took
he's
it
that guy.
one step further. Now, so the public will know, Dr. Paul McNeil runs coding camps for Black and brown kids around the nation, virtually. So he said, I never saw anyone that looked like me, and I want to change that. So that was that whole, it's his love.
Yeah.
And he has had a really great time, and you can see his heart in the work. You can see the heart you do in your work and in your work. That's what makes this great.
So he's not the face of the trail, but when you talk about his vision, how young he is, how vibrant he is, how much he wants to give back, that means a lot. And if you can put him in front of kids to say, hey, this is a possibility of what you can be, just from him doing what he's done.
That man, I mean, I don't have the skills in my pinky that he's got in IT, but with that being said, how well he comes across to a young, budding, eager audience, and as a leader and a teacher, he's good across the board with his audiences and teaching and having people experience what he can build.
You see so many examples throughout the Legacy Trail brochure of people who really wanted to make that difference, right? Wanted someone who looks like them to be doing that profession so that they can be an example to children.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So that is something that can be an inspiration for individuals. A community that does not collect and acknowledge the truth of its past forgets and is doomed. If it does not reflect on its present with accountability and reverence, then it is lacking in foundation. If it does not project into the future with vision grounded in its collection, acknowledgement, and reflection of its past, then all it has become collectively will perish. And we say then, the last sentence is, Clarksville and Montgomery County is not that community, as it has wholly embraced the significance of Mount Olive Cemetery. And you can say that about the trail. You can say that about what Dr. McNeil, a community who doesn't embrace candidly their past, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right, sure.
Okay, and going forward, then you will perish, because you will not have the knowledge that supports the foundation of where you want to go, right? So, and that's what we're trying to do. I think that's what we're really trying to do.
Summing up.
Right.
So I think this, again, has created more new ideas, and given other people, other groups, ideas, and you've worked with other groups like the Tennessee African American Historical Group, and that's Frederick Murphy and Tracy Jepson, and other groups who've created those Tennessee Historical Commission markers. And so it's divided up in different areas of the town. So you've got downtown location, Riverside Drive location, St. Bethlehem location. So you can read about it in the next edition of Second and Commerce. It comes out in July. And Nick and Terry, I think, will be with us at History on the Rocks at Skyline 500 on July 25th, 5 o'clock. We will be having that come out. It's a informal listen and learn happy hour. We'll have a little bit of fun trivia, so please join us. And thank you, Terry. Thank you, Nick, for being here. And check out the next edition of Second and Commerce and read about the Clarksville, Montgomery County African American Legacy Trail.
For current and exclusive content, subscribe to CDE Lightband, connecting you at the speed of light.